Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a while since I've uploaded a video. I was doing one a day for Huevember and then I took a little break because I didn't want to burn myself out, but I really couldn't wait to get this one started. I'm actually recording it on November 30th. It's just gonna sit in my drafts for a while so that I can get a good backlog going so I don't have to rush to get videos out on a timely basis. But for today, I'm recording this live. I'm doing the voiceover while it's recording instead of adding it in later. And what I wanted to do today is I wanted to actually go through my Huevember drawings and I wanted to give a little review on them. Just kind of stuff that I would do differently, stuff that I liked in the drawings, mistakes that I made, just stuff like that. Just a basic review of all of them, going through them one by one and sort of critiquing them. Even though I know I just did them, I do think I improved a bit, so I think there is going to be a fair amount of critique, especially for the early drawings. And as you can see at the bottom here, I do have all 30 of them. Some of them are mislabeled, like for example, day number 3, I was already screwing up and I accidentally did day number 2. So even though some of them are mislabeled, I promised all of them are there, 1 through 30. And we're just gonna go through them one by one. So we're gonna start off here with Amelia, and she was the red Huevember challenge, and I wanted to do this one like really, really red, no orange in there whatsoever, so that it actually stood out as the red challenge instead of like the red-orange canvas, which I knew I was doing next. And right off the bat, I screwed up on this one. The canvas size is only 500 by 500, whereas all the other ones, let's just pull up Adam here real quick. All the other canvases are 1,000 by 1,000. So I already screwed up there because this was way too small for me to be working on, and that was my bad. So I just wanted to start out by doing a little bit of redlining here, stuff that I think I could have done better. This hand to start with, so you can really tell as we zoom in there, it gets really pixelated. I think this could have benefited from doing a little bit more of a sketch. So if I had sketched in the hand initially and just did each finger individually, well, you know what? I didn't actually do too bad. It's not horrible. This finger definitely needs to be pointing the other way, but I think this hand definitely would have benefited from a reference at the very least. So for example, this finger is definitely supposed to be pointing more this way instead of going this way like it is. My stylus is not liking me today. Something else I really screwed up on this one is this nose. I think I kind of improved how I did noses a little bit over the course of this. So I think this nose, being the first picture, it did not turn out super great. And what I think I would do this time is I would just do the little bit of shadow up at the top here and then leave a gap at this portion right here instead of connecting it all, and just bringing down the tip of the nose, just like that. Yeah, I think I would have done that instead if I were to go back and redo this. Maybe bring that tip out forward and shade in the nostril a little bit. It gives a broken line instead of like the full line here that makes her nose appear a little bit wider and bigger than it should. Same thing with her lips. She does have full lips, but I think I went a little too full on this one. And I think part of it was the pixelization. I think because the canvas was too small, it was a little hard to see what I was working with. So if I were to fix this, I would bring the line of the mouth up a little. Here we go, something like that. And then that way the top of the lip could kind of be on the same plane, but it definitely wouldn't be sticking out as much. This open mouth too, I think I should have turned that up instead of turning it down. Yeah, and that way she still has a pretty full lip. Oh, God, see, even that doesn't look great. It's this canvas size, I swear. Yeah, that looks like a little bit more of a natural lip to me. She is supposed to have naturally full lips, but this just looks like botched lip injections, if you ask me. Let's see, what else is there on here? This hand definitely could have benefited from a sketch. I think I would have brought this finger out a little bit so that the pinky didn't look too lonely out there, and done something like that instead. And then the thumb should have been facing probably more this way. Yeah. Thumb probably should have been facing more out instead of flat like it is. So yeah, that was the Amelia drawing. I think the fabric is okay. I probably could have done Actually, you know what? Since this leg is moving forward this way, what I should have done in the center here is I should have had the folds go this way to sort of show that there was movement under the dress, that her hips were moving forward. Because right now it looks like her hips are moving this way. And yeah, the biggest issue on this was just the canvas size. It was way too small of a canvas to be working on, unfortunately. So let's switch over to Adam here. And then this one was a little bit unique because I did have the right canvas size, but I accidentally saved this as a PNG file and instead of a SAI file, which is the program that I'm working in. And I was finished with it, but I did mean to come back and like tweak a few things because the nose especially was really bothering me. And because I saved it as a PNG file instead of a SAI file, I came back to it and all my layers were gone. I didn't have any room to tweak it unless I wanted to basically start all over. So unfortunately, there are quite a few things that I wish I had done differently with this one. So let's go ahead and go over them. First things first that I'm seeing aside from that face is this portion of the collar is way too big compared to this one. Like that's absolutely huge and it should probably be going back a little further. It just looks like his jacket's a little twisted, especially with the buttons, because this is up way too high compared to this one, which means this end should actually be pulling forward when instead it's the opposite. And then I love drawing hands holding mugs. I think it's such a cute pose, but I have so much trouble with it for some reason. I think it's the getting them into that round shape, and then also this handle coming in front of it kind of screws up the anatomy a little bit. So as much as I would like to give you some red lines on this situation, I'm still kind of figuring that out myself. But if we go into the face here, I think the biggest flaw is one, the glasses are just obscuring the whole face. And let's see here. I probably should have brought them a little higher so they're not cutting off the eye right here. Yeah, I think that's the biggest issue. Other than that, the nose, I think, is a little too far out. I wanted to bring it just slightly in a little bit more. And then I liked the bump, but I think it just stuck out too far. Yeah, I think if I had just brought the bridge of the nose in a little bit, that would have made the face look a little bit cleaner, and it would have given me room to kind of push the glasses back so that they are a little higher on the face. Yeah, and then that wouldn't have cut his eye off so much. I think his ear's a little small too. Yeah, it should probably be around this size. It's not too bad. It just needs to be a little bit bigger. But other than that, I was pretty happy with this piece. The folds in the clothing, nothing too specific about that. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, this shoulder comes out a little bit too far. That is something that I learned in the course of this, is the shoulders at different angles. I sort of learned how to control them a little bit so that they looked a little better at these sort of off-center angles. So this shoulder here, let's see. We've got the body about here. This shoulder probably could have come out a little bit more. And then this shoulder should have probably been brought in just a little bit. Yeah, I think that would have helped, and then had the chest right there. Yeah, that would have been a little bit better to just kind of center the character, because this shoulder is definitely coming out too far. All right, so that was about it on this one. As you can see, I did attempt a little bit of a background in there, but I faded it out so much that I really didn't make much of a difference. And that is something I would have liked to change had I not accidentally saved it as a PNG file, and I would have had my layers, but live and learn. So next one, we got number 3, Crane here. This one I am absolutely in love with. I think this is, if not my favorite, it's definitely one of the top 3 in my Huevember challenge, because just the backlighting, the arms, I love it so much. First things first, and I noticed this as soon as I had finished with this piece, I noticed this mistake, and unfortunately I just was too lazy to go back and change it. But specifically this shadow right here makes the musculature anatomy of the arm wrong. So what it should be is this muscle right here, the bicep, should be coming all the way out here. So this shadow should really be right here instead, because then you get into the muscles of the forearm. The, what are they called? All right, you know what? There's a lot of muscles in there that I can't really name, but the main point being, because this hand is twisting out this way, The whole arm should have been twisted around, which I did for the muscles in the forearm, but the bicep muscles, unfortunately, have the arm going straight down. So that is an anatomy error that I made. I think, let's see here. The face, I think I did a really good job on. I probably could have done some sort of highlight or something in here to give the nose a little bit more shape, because right now it's just sort of, there's nothing to define the tip of the nose. That's probably something I could have done. This finger, I think it kind of got screwed up with the highlighting, because the line art is right about here, which is not horrible, but then once you add the lighting and change the color of the line art on top of that, it just makes it look at a weird angle. So the anatomy was fine, or as fine as I can get it at least. The lighting just made it look weird, which is something to consider for future projects, definitely. But overall, I think this one was a pretty good one. I'm pretty happy with this. I think maybe I should have done a little extra hair up here to kind of round out her head shape, but that's probably it. All right, so let's move on to Deli, number 4. This one, I remember having a lot of trouble with because of this underlighting. Underlighting is just hard in general, but this one specifically, because I wanted the light source like right here, I wanted it right at her feet, everything in this area had to be like full blasting light and then less and less highlight as you get to the top. Which I think I managed, but this definitely looks a little weird. She's like a messy character, so I did want her to have one sock pulled up above her knee and one sock below her knee, but unfortunately I think that made it look like the anatomy was a bit off, because her kneecaps are here and here, but because the socks are at different angles, it kind of looks like her kneecaps are here and here, which isn't great. I'm happy with the skirt. I'm happy with the skirt and the folds, even if they're not 100% correct. What I wanted it to look like was just like an oversized shirt, and I think I accomplished that. The hands I think are pretty good. This hand is slightly bigger than this one. I like the highlights on the face, and I love this little shape that I did here. I think that's when I finally figured out how highlights on the face are supposed to look with underlighting, with that little W shape. So I was happy with that. Something in this area is a little weird. This highlight right here, because I know it's supposed to be reflecting the light source down here, but having the highlight and then having the shadow underneath, I'm not sure if that worked too well. And then I think I should have had a small shadow right at the top of the lip here, just to kind of define it a little bit more. And then if we want to get into like the really nitpicky details, this ear should have been down a little bit to match this one, stuff like that. But overall, I think this one, not too bad. Definitely lacking in the background department. Didn't really do anything with that. But overall, I do like this one. I think this one turned out okay. The vest is a little strange too. I remember not having a solid idea for the design of this character, so I just was making it up as I went along. And the vest was kind of a last minute detail. But yeah, there's no, like this vest doesn't really look like it should exist. There's no buttons. This highlight's kind of weird because it looks like a really bulging pocket. But you know what? Despite all the negative critique, I am pretty happy about this one. I think this turned out pretty good. So let's move on to Cecil here. This one I had a lot of trouble with because this position with the like squatting position with the hips here and the torso here. I know how to do that with regular legs because the weight would be forward on the knees here and then the feet would just be there for balance. But with these hooved legs, I had to sort of displace it so that the weight was down here on the foot because obviously the knee is not touching the ground. And I think I had some issues with that because this foot I think is placed in the right spot because it is directly under the rest of the character. This foot I think is a little bit too far back. He wouldn't be able to balance on that very well. That and the distances between where these foots are hitting. It's okay, but I think it should have been a little more separated. Now let's see here. Oh, you know what? There's something. Yeah, the tail's touching the ground right about there. That foot's touching the ground there, and that foot's touching the ground there. So this tail, the point at which it's touching the ground means it should be coming between the feet because it's touching the ground between where the feet are. but it's behind the feet, so it should be touching the ground right about there. So yeah, a little off on that one. Something that's always really hard about this character is his bangs do fall in front of his face. And I like that. It was a part of his original design. I don't really want to change it, but it's just something I have that I struggle with to kind of get them to look like they're not blocking the face. The nose I was really happy with. I think I should have brought the eyebrows down just a tad, because there's no forehead space here. And then, of course, if you're looking down at a character, then you're going to see the eyebrows first, and there's going to be less space between the eyebrows and the eye. Yeah. God, I'm really being harsh on my drawings right now, but this is how you learn. You just have to go back to your old drawings and self-critique. These could have been a little less intense, the folds on this clothing, and maybe bring the sleeve down to right here instead, because it looks like it's a little tight under that armpit there. But I'm gonna go ahead and move on from this character. I think the hands are really good. I think the eyes, they're okay. Maybe they could have been looking down a little bit more, because they kind of look vacant right now, like they're not actually looking at anything. And again, no background, because I didn't know what to do for that. As we're going to get into the yellow colors here, you're going to notice that I put less and less effort into the characters, because as I said in my Huevember videos, I'm really not a fan of yellow. It's just, it's such an ugly color to use specifically for the whole piece. I like it for highlighting, and I like it for like accents or glowing pieces, but to use it for the whole piece is just, it's such an eye strain. I don't like looking at it. So these two yellow pieces I have here are going to be, one, very desaturated, and two, especially with this one, I just didn't put a whole lot of effort into it. So let's start out with this one with the obvious. That hand, if you watch the old video of it, I worked so hard on this hand to try and get it to look right. And even though I sketched the whole thing out, I worked on the anatomy of it, I still don't think it looks great. It's just kind of there. It doesn't look like it's holding onto the coat. That's just something I'm gonna have to work on in the future, because I'm not really sure how to do that. The hair is way too wild. Everything in here, like, that's how his hair is supposed to be. It's supposed to be very wild and very frazzled, but everything going on, one, it was such a pain to line all this and figure out where everything was, and two, it's like there's some points where it's like, where the heck is this piece coming from? It looks like it's just starting on top of this one. There's this big chunk of hair that for some reason is longer than like the piece right next to it. It's a whole mess. I need to find a new way to draw his hair, because this is not working for me. I did love the profile in this one. I really liked the shape of the nose and the lips. Because Jameson here, his sister is Amelia. They both have the really full lips. Where'd he go? Where is he? Why is he titled Adam? That's not his name. All right. I just screwed up on that. That's funny. I didn't even notice that. And then the last thing I'm going to say is that this whole area is just very uninspiring. There's nothing going on. It was a bad pose. It was looking at the back like this is just not fun. So, and I blame that on the yellow. I didn't like working on this piece because I didn't want to work with the yellow. So I was lazy with it. This structure probably shouldn't be like that. I didn't bother looking up references, to be quite honest. All right, moving on to Addison. We went back to the orange with this one, so I was quite happy to do that. I love working with yellow in this context, where it's got the really warm lighting, the rim lighting, the back lighting. I love doing that, but working in yellow like this, where the whole thing is yellow, not a fan. So with Addison here, let's see. I'm quite a fan of this one. This one's got to go in my top 3, up there with Crane and Addison. Very happy with them. The hand, again, I've never really been able to figure out how to get the hand anatomy to like wrap around a cup. That's something I gotta work on. I was pretty happy with this hand though. I think this one turned out really nice. The way that it's like gripping the rag that she's using, and I've actually got it inside the cup. I was pretty happy with that. Ooh, and also the refraction here of the reflection behind the cup. Also, I thought that was really cool. Let's see. this bag shape. I keep drawing these like saddlebag, leather pocket kind of things. And I need to find a different shape for them because this is fine, but this is what I do for every single bag and the variety is just not there. Same with these like side swept skirts because I did that there. I think I did the same thing on Deli. Yep, did the side swept skirt again. Did I do that on anyone else? Oh, yep, did it on Kira here. That like side swept sash. It's not a huge deal. It's just something that I keep doing with my characters and I need to find like something else to do. I was really proud of this area with the like highlight on one side because obviously her chest is going to be sticking out a little bit, so it's going to be catching the light, and then the shadow on the other side. I just thought that turned out really, really good. I was happy with that. The sleeves are a little tight. I think they should be just slightly poofier. She does have big arms, like she's supposed to have muscular arms, so it would make sense that they're tight, but I don't know. I think I should have added just a little bit, if not poof, just a little more folds and wrinkles to them so that they looked a little looser. Yeah, other than that, pretty happy with this one. I love the hair. I was super happy with the hair. All right, moving on. Back to yellow again. Not a fan. I think I like this one. So here's what I like about this one. Everything except this. I was not super happy with the face. Everything else I think I did really good. This was 100% new for me. First of all, I never draw swords, and I've never ever drawn one pointing directly at the camera or at the viewer or sort of to the side of the viewer. So I think I did a good job on that, being my first try. I've also never drawn hands from this angle. That kind of goes hand in hand with the fact that I've just never drawn this before. So I think, again, with this being my first try, these hands are pretty damn good. This elbow, is that right? I don't think that elbow's right. I think this arm should have been turned a little bit more that way. We've got the wrinkles in the clothes. This one would be bunching up a little more because his shoulder is higher. All right, I'm avoiding the main issue here. The main issue is the face, and I think the biggest problem I had was the lighting. Like this yellow patch on the cheek, I added that at the very last second, and I think it did help a little bit to sort of bring the face into the picture, but mostly it's these little extraneous shadows that just sort of crowd everything and make it look a little too separated from the rest of the piece. Although this is an extremely intense light source, so it would be casting some pretty intense shadows on the character. So I guess technically, having these pretty extreme shadows would be correct, but I don't think it looks very good. Maybe I'll find a better way to do intense shadows like this that might look a little better. And then the hair too. What the heck is this? This character usually has like slicked back hair, sort of like slicked like this, like regular people would do. I don't know why it's slicked to the side. I think I tried to do that to give it like a windswept look, like he's sort of been in combat. But yeah, I think I did the hair like this to make it look unkempt a little bit. I do like the feet. I like how the feet turned out. Although the fact that I connected the shadow here makes it look like he's standing, which is definitely not what this is supposed to be. He's supposed to be in flight, but oh well. Moving on to Michael. Now this one, I discussed it in the video, but this pose where he has his shoulders kind of at a little, it was supposed to be a steeper angle to the camera. It was supposed to be more like this, where his shoulders would be sort of in a line to the camera instead of squared to them. And I discussed that in the video. I wasn't super happy with how the pose turned out because I think it's a new pose for me, and I think I got afraid and just reverted back to what I normally do. First of all, first thing I'm noticing, because this is an upward angle, we're kind of looking up at the character, things should be a little more along this curve. And the thing that I'm noticing that's standing out to me is the collarbone is on a downward curve. So how it should be is probably a little closer to here. Yeah, the collarbone should have been brought way up on that one. His lips here, I think a lot of my characters would have benefited from this. Just a small like mustache line right there to kind of define that upper lip a little bit, especially with the underlighting. There's that W shape again that was like a key moment to me for understanding underlighting, was getting that W in. I'm really happy with that. I will say something that I am very happy with is this hand. I was so psyched about especially how each of these little like cells came out, these cells of light. I think they like mimic the lines on a hand really well without making it look too overcrowded. So I was really happy with that. And other than just the basic anatomy issues where again, this should be higher and the pose was supposed to be more this way, I'm pretty happy with this piece. I think it turned out pretty okay. Even this hand, like I know this is not a natural position, but I liked the little dramatic floaty fingers. I thought that looked cool. And I was also very happy with the sheer material of the fabric, because it's not something you really notice at first, and then you look a little deeper and you go, ooh, you can see his arms through the fabric. That's cool. So yeah, overall pretty happy with that one. All right, moving on to Rose. We had to go back to yellow for this one, and to be honest, I was not mad at it. This is the only drawing where I did this like really soft lighting. Almost all of the other drawings I did very stark cell shading. Whereas with Rose here, all the shading aside from like very, very distinct points is all very soft. So starting out here, this one is just a character issue. I wish I could have gotten the nose to look a little more crooked, maybe something like that, because she is supposed to have like a broken nose. I think the issue here was that once I got this specific highlight in, it sort of drowned out the line art and it made the nose look a lot straighter than it should be, because the line art, let's see here, kind of goes like that. So as you can see there is a fairly significant bump in the nose. It should be a little more though, because she is supposed to have a broken nose. Let's see, what else do we have here? I think that's about it on this one. There are some like parts that I wish were a little darker. So like that fold in there should have been pretty dark. Her temple up here, because it's covered by her hair and it's a low point on the face, as well as behind the head here, should have been a lot darker. This probably should have been darker. Same with this little bit of fabric down here. But yeah, overall, I was really happy with this one. I think it turned out really well. I wasn't expecting to do the soft highlighting when I first started out with it, and I was really happy with that. All right, moving on. All right, on to Lily here. For these last couple pieces, I was really experimenting with like lighting, but I was getting kind of sick of it. I wanted to go back to something more my style, so I once again just did my very classic, very simple cell shading, cell highlighting on all of these. Not too complicated, and I was really happy with this one. Let's see, I think anatomy-wise, I do like this little bump right here, but it looks... I think when I added the outline, because the outline doesn't continue up her waist, it made it look a little like it had a double bump there, which anatomically would be a little strange. So that's just something to think about when I'm finishing off a piece, because this is fine. That just little hip dip there. But yeah, I think the outline just made it look like there was an extra little bit there, which shouldn't have been. I love this piece, honestly. This, the hand here. This hand, the anatomy on that should have been a little clearer, because these two fingers specifically should have been brought back a little bit. So they should be more about, let's see. Yeah, probably closer to that, just to get them a little bit out of the way, because especially this line right here is encroaching on this finger's territory. So they should have just gone a slightly further back. This hand's good. I love all my little snake faces. I was very happy with those. And I loved this nose here, where it kind of had that Roman bump and then just went straight down. I was very happy with that. I think that looks cool. Yeah, not much to say about this piece. Really like it. All right, Lincoln here. There were a couple anatomy issues with this one. First one being, when I initially sketched him out, I did the torso, the pelvis, and then I had the legs hanging over like the edge of something, like a wall or stairs, and I wanted to do like a bit of that forced perspective. But then as I was drawing the arms, were in the lap here. So everything was very flat because his lap was very flat. But then as I drew the background in, I realized that I forgot to put him on like a little ledge. So instead I just put his legs straight out and then one crossing the other, which would have given this book a little bit of lift. It should have been lifted more towards the character. But unfortunately I forgot to correct that. So everything here is just just slightly too flat. It's a very minor thing, but it is something that I noticed. I think the hair's really good. The anatomy, the mouth, it could have gone up just the slightest little bit, just like even that much, because the nose here has a little bit too big of a gap at the moment. I think the neck was really good. That's about the place that it should be. Yeah, this was another simple one. I wanted to focus more on the forced perspective with the leaves and the tree sort of being blurred out. And then this is a little blurred down here just to make sure that your main focus stayed right about here. So yeah, happy with how this one turned out. The hands are a little wonky. Ooh, especially this thumb. That's way too big. Overall, happy again. Moving on. All right, so this one, this was kind of like a redemption pose for Michael here, where it is the same kind of pose, but I wanted it more at this angle. And this is what I was originally going for with Michael. So I'm glad I got to retry it, and I did learn that when you draw shoulders at this angle, you just have to completely hide one. That one is gone. You can't see the shoulder, it just goes right behind the chest. So that is something I learned from this piece, and I'm happy with how it turned out. I'm happy with how this whole piece turned out, honestly. The hand anatomy is very good. This finger probably could have been facing a little more forward, a little more of a bend in that nail. That probably would have been a good idea just to make it so that this finger wasn't so out of line. But I love this hand. I was very happy with that hand. And then I thought the lighting was very good. The lip probably should have had a little more highlight underneath since it's being lit from this fire right here. So there wouldn't have been as much shading underneath there. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this one too. I think I was hitting a good streak here as far as rendering these pieces. All right, on to McLean. This one, I think I was getting a little burnt out at this point of just drawing one a day, so I wanted to do something fairly simple. I did reference a pose for this one. The pose was not something I had drawn before, so I wanted like a moody picture for him, so I just looked up moody sitting poses, and this is what popped up. And I kind of like it. Again, I've not done this pose before, definitely haven't done it freehand, so I am happy with how it turned out. I am mostly happy because McLean is a very short character. He's, I want to say like 5'3", 5'4", very short. And I was really happy. I think that kind of reflected in this piece. And I think the way that I did that was I made his feet really big and his head just slightly bigger than it's supposed to be. And it made the rest of his body look kind of small by comparison, even though he's sitting down, like you can't see his full height. Mistakes on this one. This hand is definitely way bigger than this one. This whole area, I didn't know what to do with that because the light is coming from this direction, but usually there's a shadow right here for the temple. So I think what would have helped me is if I didn't have the hairline so far back. I think the hairline should have been a little bit closer to this shape. Yeah, and then that would have filled in that little gap there that was causing me some trouble. So I think the biggest issue I have with this one is that hairline and the fact that these hands are two different sizes. But overall, still a pretty good piece in my opinion. All right, this one, again, I just wanted to do something simple. When I started highlighting her, I started with this blue color, and it didn't look super great on the back because it looked very artificial, but for some reason, this looked really cool to me. So even though there's no light source over here where it would be casting blue, I decided to keep it anyway because I just thought it really fit the character. It just looked very cool. Issues with this piece, I think, oh my goodness, I think her eye might be a little bit too slanted. I think it should probably be a little closer to this shape with the corner of the eye coming down ever so slightly, because with the eye at this angle and the mouth at this angle, it kind of unbalances the face and makes it look a little bit weird. There's also the dress, this sort of like curvy, they were very like plain clothing, so there was nothing nothing too exciting going on here, so I just added those wrinkles to kind of add a little bit of interest to the bottom part. And I don't think it worked super well. There's just something about this wrinkle especially that it looks like the dress should be pinned up on the other side, and I know it's not, so that was just a little weird. Otherwise, very happy with this hand aside from the thumb here. I think the thumb should have stopped right there, first of all, and then gone in the other direction instead of the thumbnail facing us. Let's see here. Other than that, pretty good. Pretty happy with this one. I loved this wing. Yeah. Color-wise on this one, let's see. What were we supposed to be doing? I was supposed to be doing like a blue, green, teal. I think it ended up a little bit too green. It still worked. All right, moving on. This one I had a lot of trouble with for obvious reasons. She's got a bear head, and I've drawn this character a couple times. She's an old character for me. I don't work with her a lot, and I especially haven't worked with her a lot since college. So even though I've improved at drawing human anatomy and human faces, I have not improved much with bear faces because I just haven't practiced enough. Her hands are huge. They're supposed to be. She's a bear. But this face, there's something about the nose. I think it needs to turn that way a little bit. I'm not going to critique it too heavily because this is not something that I'm used to doing. We're just going to leave it as it is. Although I will say, I do kind of regret leaving this, like the makeup, because she's got makeup on one eye, and I kind of regret not doing it on the other eye either, because it does make the face look a little more lopsided than it's supposed to be, even though she's supposed to be putting on makeup. That was the whole point of it. But I kind of wish I had given her the makeup on the other side. Let's see, what else? There was just, I think there was too much going on in this one. I was really trying to make it look like a big cohesive piece by really getting a background in there, but because the background is all green, it's all monotone, it kind of made this corner stand out too much because there was so much green over here that your eye kind of ignores it and draws you straight to this corner instead of this area, which is what you're supposed to be focusing on. Things I like about this though, this is my favorite trick to do whenever you're drawing mirrors, is drawing a bevel on the mirror's edge and then making a refraction. And the way that you do that is you take the whole piece. Let's see if I can sort of demonstrate here, or this is how I do it at least. Take the whole piece, duplicate that. It's not going to be exactly the same because obviously this is not. Also, I just realized, look at how off that refraction is right there. Because if I were to match it to this corner, then the bottom there would be off, and if I were to match it to the bottom, then that corner would be off. Yeah, look at that. Oh, that's way off. That's my bad. But anyway, I would have copied that and pasted it, and then just enlarge that so that it goes to the edges of the mirror there. Paste again, and you have that lovely refraction. Exactly like this one. All right, anything else with this one? I think because I wanted the light source to come from here, so it was like looking up at her again, but I think that was a mistake. I think I should have just done a fully lighted dressing room because there's too much of the viewer's attention going to this corner, in my opinion. All right, moving on. Next we have Mel, and I was very happy with this one. Because when I was back on Ava again, I really liked this blue light that was going on here, and I wanted to utilize that in another picture. So I did that for Mel in the swimming pool that she's in. I wanted that like nighttime, like she's swimming at night and the pool lights are on, so it has that really interesting teal blue glow. So I was very happy with that. The hands, let's talk about the hands. I kind of sketched these out. I did not use a reference for them, and I probably should have because they just don't look great in my opinion. Look at the difference in where they're hitting the ground there. That's not great. I was just messy on the line art because I knew the hands were bad and I just didn't feel like fixing it. So bad hands, let's move on. I was very happy with the arm shape on this one, and even the shoulders here. Usually when I do these like 3/4 shoulders, let's go back to, who was it? Adam. Usually when I do these 3/4 shoulders, one shoulder is sticking out way too far and then the other one is way too short. So I think for Mel, this shoulder is a lot shorter, but it is coming sort of in front of the character. So I think on this one, at least, the shoulder lengths work really well because she's got them coming out in front of her, moving that way, which you can kind of do to an extent. You can move your shoulders forward and backwards. I might have taken it too far though. I think this whole arm should have gone ever so slightly this way. Kind of, yeah, I think that would have been better. Maybe take the shoulder out a little bit further there. Yeah, that probably would have been better. Let's see. I was happy with the hair on this one. I liked how the hair looked. And then the hairline, we're looking up at her just slightly, so there isn't going to be much crown visible, or much scalp, I should say. So I think the hairline was pretty good. And then the nose, I think maybe could have benefited from a little bit of line art right there, just to kind of define it a little bit. Yeah, and then now that I'm drawing out that line art, I realize that shadow could probably be a little bit closer. But overall, I really like this one. Very happy with it. Moving on. Oh, my sweet Maggie. My sweet, sweet, beautiful Maggie. I loved this piece. I just sort of like took a break from experimenting, didn't want to do anything too complicated, and just drew a character that I know really, really well. I draw her all the time in a style that I know very well. So I'm very happy with this one. There's not much to say about it. I'm just flipping it to kind of double check here. Yeah, I won't say it's perfect. Obviously, there's a lot of mistakes. I think my first mistake was probably right here. It's not terrible, but I think the pad of the thumb should have been a little thinner there, and the thumb should have extended just a little bit longer. This is supposed to be her pinky. This finger right here. Ooh, it's the exact same color blue. Let's switch to red. Yeah, there we go. This finger right here is supposed to be her pinky, and I think it would have benefited a little bit to kind of have it up and out, maybe. Yeah, that way it's sort of like separated from the other fingers. I'm not too mad at it though. It doesn't really stand out too much, so I'm happy with it overall. She is a plus size character, so I wish I had given these fingers a little bit more meat. I wish they weren't as skinny as they are. But I was very happy with this finger in particular and how it's coming towards the camera. I liked that a lot. I like lace on characters, but I hate drawing lace. I don't think there's anyone that likes drawing lace. It's very tedious to do, but I think it turned out really well on this one. Except for this little bit right here. Something's weird there. It's first of all, it's too small compared to this side. And second of all, it looks like it should be pointing more in this direction with more of a gradual transition into the sideways direction. This sleeve was a little weird. I think what I should have done is started the folds at the corner and then done a more extreme bend there to show that her arm was bending at the elbow, which is right about here. Because with the sleeve just sort of hanging loosely like this, it makes her arm look very short. Although, it didn't do it on that side. Actually, I think this sleeve, the wrinkles should be going this way because she's turning her arm outwards. So yeah, the folds on this sleeve are going the wrong way. Oops. Also, this bow is not centered. It should be, well, probably right here. Yeah, if the bow is right here, it should be a little further off. But overall, very happy with this piece. Again, it's a character I've drawn a million times in a style that I've drawn a billion times. So came pretty easily to me. I was pretty happy with it. Moving on. Oh boy. All right. This one, where is he? Oh, that's right. I named him Adam for some reason. So probably Adam, Baron, Angela, and Warren. Those are probably my 4 least favorite pieces. So Angela here, again, I really wanted to play with this teal color, so I sort of based the whole piece around that. I wanted to get the same result that I had with Mel here, where the teal color was kind of the star of the show, but unfortunately something weird happened. I just don't think it worked out as well as the other piece. There's a lot of things wrong with this one, so let's just get into it. The eyes, first of all, are definitely way too big. They should probably be more of this size to kind of, I keep doing that. I keep forgetting I'm not on a separate layer. But to kind of keep with the rest of the character, they should be just a little bit smaller. Again, she does have the full lips, and actually I think these are really nice. I maybe just would have turned them up ever so slightly, because as much as I like the Patty expression, this was a little bit extreme. This cheek, let's see here. Let's flip it. This cheek, I think, could have gone in a little bit more. Yeah, maybe like that. Because she does have this pronounced jawbone, but it wouldn't be super visible from this side. Yeah, I think that's a little too visible over there. I think it should have gone in. right to about there. The nose is good. I hadn't at this point discovered the technique of just doing the bridge of the nose and then the tip of the nose, which I think is a very good technique. Still something I'm still working on, but I like how it's influencing my pictures. This hand, the anatomy is okay. Actually, the anatomy is not okay. This finger kind of has 4 bends to it. 1, 2, 3. Whoops. All right. I mean, this one I don't think I initially intended to be a bend. I intended for this to be the knuckle, but it definitely doesn't look like that, does it? Yeah, that's something I probably should have changed. Yeah, definitely. Let's see here. Yeah, I think some fingers sort of closer to that position. Yeah, I think that would have read a lot better than what I originally had. Oh, well. Live and learn. I think this section is okay. Like the throat and shoulders section, but for some reason it doesn't really connect to the torso in a way that I would have liked it to. I think this is a little weird, how it's got the shoulder coming out and then the rib cage sort of disconnected from that. I don't know. I'm not really sure what I should have done to fix that. That might be something that I need to study a little bit. I probably need to get some references of arms in this position with the torso facing the camera to kind of see. Yeah, that I'm not sure what's supposed to be happening there. So that's just something that I need to study, which is fine. But yeah, I think that's about it for this one. So let's go ahead and move on. It's, and oh, well, I did want to touch on the colors. This background color is horrible. The background color is horrible. I think the shading was a little too dark, or at the very least, it's definitely the wrong color. Yeah, not a fan of the lighting on this one. All right, moving on to Joan. I did really like this one, but the glaring obvious mistake is right here. I say mistakes. There's a lot of mistakes. First of all, this hand, in comparison to this hand, just the fingers alone, you can tell, like, look how big that finger is compared to this finger. It's just, ugh. So let's start off with the fact that Joan is about 6'4". She's a very tall character. Why is this mug like a foot long? That it's absolutely ginormous. Yeah, so the mug should have probably been, for such a tall character, maybe this big, maybe a little bit bigger if you want like an oversized mug, but generally with tall characters, you want things that they're interacting with to be a lot smaller. Again, the hand, just, I need to find some reference photos of just people. I'm gonna start writing this down. I'm gonna start writing down what reference photos I need to find so I can do studies of them, because hands holding glasses or hands holding mugs, I have not been able to really grasp that yet. And in addition to the fact that this hand is absolutely massive by comparison, it just kind of ruins the whole piece for me, because I love this part and the lighting right here especially. I'm super happy with that. This leg, very happy with that leg. What else is there? The nose, I was able to get that nice Roman nose there. Very happy with that. I just think this piece I think turned out really well. Even the background with like this square of light. And then the rest of it being dark. Super happy with how that turned out. It's just this section that really messes it up for me. So more to study, more to learn. All right, moving on to Sybil. This is such a fun character to draw. She's just one of those ones that I just enjoy drawing her. That's the reason I have her. She doesn't have a story. She doesn't have a universe. I covered all that in the video for her, but she's just a delight. She's just fun to draw. And as you can see here, this is about where I figured out that technique of just drawing the very tip of the bridge and then bringing it down to the tip of the nose, so that you don't have this big jarring line in the middle of the face, but it's a nice definition to the nose, so it's not just like a little bit down here that a lot of people do. So let's start off with the most obvious feature, this hand. I think it's not bad. Something in the thumb is screwed up. Let's see, I think if the knuckle's there, the thumb probably should have gone this way, because there's a lot of the meat to the thumb here is is pressing out a lot, which means the thumb would have been quite a bit forward. So having the knuckle right there doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I think it should have just been a little bit more forward that way, and then that would have revealed just that much more room of the actual portrait itself. And then maybe because I was doing that, move the thumb a little bit more towards the hand as well. Yeah, I think that would have been a little better. I am pleased with this hand, don't get me wrong. I think it looks really good, but something this and this isn't adding up. That's it. There's too much space there. All right. So you can't really see anything behind the hand. But I think the corset was something along these lines. I think it ended up somewhere like that, which is not horrible. And again, because it's blocked by the hand, it doesn't really matter what's back there. But the anatomy of that was just slightly off to me. Actually, you know what? It's not bad, and it doesn't even matter. Let's see here. I think the mouth could have been slightly more turned down, like how the nose is turned down, and the eyes. We're kind of looking at it from an upwards angle, ever so slightly. It's definitely not an extreme angle, but I think the mouth is the only thing that doesn't really match the rest of the face. It looks good, but I think it could have gone more like this. Yeah, something a little more like that. So the lips would be just a little bit lower, the gap in the mouth would be a little bit lower, and then the corners of the mouth would be turned up a little bit, because when you're looking down at something, you want these downward curves. This hand back here is really screwed up, in my opinion. I think it doesn't look like it's resting on the wrist correctly. I think it should have gone back further this way. So then the thumb would have been here, and the fingers would have been closer to this positioning. Yeah, I think that would have been better. And then we've got this part of the palm that the scythe should have been resting on, because right now it kind of just looks like the hand is pointing straight that way. It doesn't look like it's bent back for the scythe to be resting on. Let's see, other than that, there's not much to criticize about this piece. Her hair is so wonky. Like, I know this is my character. Oh my god. Oh my god, I missed all the shading right here. Literally everything. This should have been shaded like this. Some shading up there, and then there should have been a highlight right here. Oh my gosh, I just completely missed that. Whoops, that's all I'm gonna be able to see when I look at this piece now, is that I missed all the shading right there. All right, well, that's a big one. That's a big whoopsie doodle. Let's see, what do I like about this piece? This is awkward, but I like the chest. I think the upward angle worked really well, especially with this bit right here where it's the shoulder moving back and then it transitions into the chest. I think that turned out really cool. Same with the shirt and how the wrinkles kind of move down. Actually, I think that would have been a little bit better. If this wasn't bulging out so much, I think I would have gone just straight down on that one. These hair pieces are so difficult to draw. I think I've only drawn them correctly the first time I drew this character, and then every attempt since has just been, these things are so heavy looking and they look like they're in her face, so it's just something to work on in the character design. Moving on. All right, Theo here. I was pretty happy with this one. I didn't have a lot of energy to draw this day, so I just did a very basic character. The first thing that pops out to me is his thumb. Should probably be right here, so that you can kind of, let's do this on a different layer for once. Yeah, he probably should have had his thumb there so that you can see it behind the hand. That would have benefited, so there's just not that blank space right there. I think, because I did want there to be a secondary light source coming from outside the window, and you kind of get that with the rim lighting, but I think I should have done more. And I think these highlights should have been yellow to reflect that warmer light coming from outside. Not much else to say about this one. This finger probably should have gone a little more up that way, because the gaps in between fingers kind of go in this arch where it's like the first and second finger, the gap between them is pretty low. Second and third is slightly higher, and then the third and fourth is low again. The gap in that finger should have gone just slightly down. I like the folds on the clothes, how it's turning there. I was very happy with this fold on the elbow, because obviously when you've got your elbow resting on something, it's going to be trapping the fabric underneath it, so it's sort of stretching up there. I was very happy with that. And then also with this shoulder, the fabric's going to be draping off of the shoulders, so I did that as well. Again, very happy. Didn't really do the same thing on the other side. I kind of tried to, but the fabric was more being pulled from this direction. So this was kind of the shape that I was going for. Overall though, not bad. Pretty happy with this one overall. Moving on. All right, I love this one. I'm so happy with it. The only thing that really stands out to me is the hands are just slightly different sizes. This one is a little too big. Probably, yeah, it probably should have been closer to this one, to the size of that one, but it's not, they're far enough apart that it's not that easy to notice, and they're also not too different that it's something that is easily noticeable. I was very happy with the highlighting, where I just did this very localized blue light. So the area that the light affects is just this little circle right here. There's really nothing beyond this circle that's touched by that blue light. So I was hesitant to do that because usually I kind of go overboard with the lights. I'll get some highlights like up here. I did this little highlight is even blue because I just go overboard sometimes. I probably would have gone up here, definitely would have gone down to this area, but instead I decided to keep it very localized to that little circle, and I think that turned out really cool, so I'm very happy with that. This moon, is that shaded? I think that's in shadow, and I think I should have maybe erased some of the shadow there. I think anatomy-wise, everything's pretty good. The ruffles are all in the right place. The folds in the fabric all look pretty good. These ruffles were done last second, so they kind of look a little out of place, but I'm glad I added them because it added this was very plain up here. It looked like something was missing. This sleeve, the folds in the fabric are a little strange. Yeah, I think what I should have done is I should have like sketched it as though the arm were here. So I probably should have sketched out the arm and then did the sleeve around the arm, maybe like that. Yeah, that definitely would have been the proper way to do that, because I kind of just went for it without really understanding what I was doing with it. Overall, good piece. I like this one. Love the hair. I was so happy with this hair here. I think part of that is because there's like 3 different shadows, or 2 different shadows and a highlight. So we've got the highlight here, and then the base color, and then the first shadow, and then the second shadow. And I think that really added a lot of necessary texture to the hair, so I was happy with that. I think I would have done just a little bit more shading in there, darken that up a little bit. Same with the other side, that probably would have been a good idea. That's about it though. Maybe a smidge right there, I'm not sure. That's about it. This one was a really good piece. I'm very, very happy with how this one turned out. Moving on. My lovely avatar. This one I was also very happy with. Let's see, zooming right in here. The hands are always going to give people trouble. It always gives me trouble. Hands are hard. Hands are very, very difficult. But these ones I think were okay. This finger is kind of bothering me. I kind of wish I had brought it out to here. Yeah, I wish I had brought that finger out a little bit so that it wasn't hiding this one. Other than that, I think the hands are pretty good. This probably needs to go back a little bit. That probably should have been about there. This is off center. I would have brought that a little bit forward. The eyes, I think this needs to come ever so slightly in that direction. Just a smidgen. Let's actually sketch it out. Yeah, I think it should have been closer to about there. So just ever so slightly down. Maybe just curve more that way. I think it was a little too upturned there. I think that's what the problem was with that. Other than that, there's not a whole lot I have to say on this piece. I think I could have trimmed this a little, maybe gone just to here. Obviously keep that separated, but yeah, I think if I trimmed the tail a little bit, maybe brought it slightly back just composition wise, that would have been a little better. But yeah, happy with this piece. I've already incorporated it into something else. I mean, she's my avatar, so it's easy to put her other places and just sort of work with it. Moving on. I'm just taking a tea break while I stare at this because, ooh boy howdy, is this one. I'll just say while I'm sipping my tea here, this one was a pain all the way through. I was really happy with the initial sketch, but beyond that, everything just sort of went downhill from there. The anatomy is not great. The lighting is horrible. And I really wanted a dark piece for this one, but it just I need more practice with dark pieces because this did not turn out the way I want it. Let's get into it. So first things first, the Adam's apple here is way too low. This should be probably closer to about there if you're looking up on it. Let's see. Yeah, right about there is probably where it should be, the Adam's apple. That's far too low. I wanted to, because you're looking up at the jaw, I wanted to make sure you could see the underside of it. So like the underside of the jaw would have been right there. If I were to bring the jaw all the way down and have the neck come all the way up to it, that looks like you're looking at it from the side. That does not look like you're looking at it from underneath. So I did attempt to show the underside of the jaw, but I think I just need more practice with it because this looks very twisted. It looks like it's twisting this way. This eye I think should be a lot smaller, just sort of tucked into the nose there. We really shouldn't be seeing it past the nose. The hair I think I did a pretty good job on. Maybe the hairline needs to be a little shorter, or not the hairline, the forehead, because again, we're looking up on it this way. We would see mostly under the eye here, and then that would be up on the forehead, so the forehead could stand to be just a little bit smaller. I was very happy with this hand. I think that turned out very well. It probably could be a little bit smaller because I was trying to go for that, like, hand is a little closer to the camera, so it's a little bit bigger. But with the way the rest of the pose turned out, I think I could have made it smaller and it would have been just fine. This is another pose that I've never done before with this, specifically this hand. So I had to look up a reference for this one because initially when I had drawn it, and you can see this in my video, I did something like this where the elbow was here and I brought the arm way out this way, which I realized very quickly is kind of impossible to do. If the elbow is close to the body, you're not really bringing your arm out that way without being at a very awkward angle. It's just not a relaxed position. And then the anatomy on the stomach is very strange. Let's see, the rib cage should be about there, and then we've got the abdomen here. Got 1, 2, 3. Oh wait, how does this work? Let me look up a reference real quick. All right, so yeah, we got the rib cage, a little lower than that. We've got these first set of like pseudo abs here, and then 1, 2, and then those are the last ones. The belly button should be right about here. And actually this whole anatomy should probably be brought up a little bit. There we go. And then the hips should have been brought in a lot because the V cut comes down all the way, like it touches the abs there. Well, no, it doesn't. I gotta look at the freaking anatomy. Okay, so it looks like there's a little bit of something right there, and this is where the V cut should be. That's so weird. It feels like it should be a lot closer. All right, this is another one of those anatomies that I just need to study because not even that looks right. I think the waist should have just been smaller. Something like, well, I don't know. That's something I should have studied. And definitely should have just at least looked at an anatomy picture for this one because I don't think this turned out right. Yeah, and then there's the lighting. The lighting is just not good. There's not much to say about it. I liked this. I liked the lighting coming off of the cigarette here. But everything in this area, it makes sense, but you can't see the character. So, not a fan of this one. This is hands down my least favorite Huevember drawing. No good. Moving on. All right, Jade here. If you watched the video, you'll know that this is the second time that I attempted Jade. The first time didn't record. Very bummed about it. But this second one was a whole lot better. I actually hate the first one that I did. Yeah, I hated the first one that I did. I think this one turned out a lot better. Just the pose, the lighting, everything about it, I absolutely love. So let's get into it. First things first, this could have just been a teensy bit smaller. It is closer to the camera, so you do want it a little bigger than this hand, which is further away from the camera, but I think it's too big. I think it just needs to be ever so slightly smaller. I know the boba tea is supposed to have like, an opaque wrapper on top, so that's probably something that I could have added, but I didn't really think about it until after I had already finished the line art and was coloring everything in, so I just didn't want to go back and include it. I think I was gonna say her hips could probably be a little bit wider, but I think that's just the jacket kind of throwing off. No, you know what? Yeah, they could definitely be wider, especially this. What is this? Yeah, I think if her rib cage is going down this way, first of all, the waist should be right here, not right here. I don't know what's going on there. And the hips probably just needed to be a little bit wider. Maybe just on the one side though. Yeah, I think this side kind of dips in a little bit too much. What else is there? This bothers me. I didn't realize, I don't even know how I did this, but the nose ring is re-piercing back into her nose. It should be going this way where it actually goes into her nostril. But for some reason, when I did the line art, I re-pierced her nose, so now she's got a piercing on the top of her nose and in the side of her nose, which can't be good. The nose itself looks like it's facing too much this way. It should be facing the camera head on, if not slightly this way, because the mouth is facing this way. I think the nose is just kind of at the wrong angle. This eye is slightly too big. In fact, I think if yeah, should be about that size. Obviously, that doesn't look too great, but if you ignore this part, I think that's a little bit better of a size. That might have even been too small. But yeah, overall, really happy with this one. Again, it was the second attempt at this, so I didn't like go all out on it. And I think that's what really helped the piece, is I reined myself in a little bit and didn't try to go overboard. So very happy with that one. All right, so for Kira here, first things first, well, it's not my favorite piece. I did want to try and redeem myself from Warren and do another dark piece, but I ended up, which is what I started with, but I ended up adding this window in the back, which added a lot of light because I just don't think, I was too scared to go too dark again. I went ahead and just did some simple backlighting instead. First critique is this hand is ever so slightly bigger than this one. Not a huge deal. I think they both look great, but that would be my first critique there. I think the cleavage here is a little bit too high. It should probably be going down to about here. I like the hair. I think the hair looks really good. Let's see. This iris is a little too high. I think it needs to be closer to about right here to match this one at least. Check out this gold though. I was really happy with that. The gold there and the gold here. I learned this new like shading technique that I just saw from one of those random recommended posts on Instagram, and I tried it out, and I didn't think it would work, but it looks really good. I'm gonna have to remember that for later pieces. This I think could have been, first of all, it needs to go up ever so slightly, just this line right here. So that needs to be a little bit darker. Let's actually do that in black so we can kind of see what it looks like. There we go. Just ever so slightly so that it's matching up with this line. Yeah, not too much to say about this piece. I was very happy with the pose. I really wanted this like kind of lean. It's not as extreme as I would have liked it to be, and I think I was just being a little overly cautious with it, but I am happy with the pose. I'm actually happy with the background too. These curtains are like simple enough, but still effective. And I just realized I was supposed to blur the background, but you know what? They're simple enough that it doesn't take away focus from the main character. All right, we're almost done, just 3 more. So we've got the twins here, which is, that's also got to be one of my favorite pieces. I'm so happy with this one. Just the pose, these hands sort of intertwined, this one is very cool to me. I love this. But my first thought is they are supposed to have absolutely identical faces, which is pretty much impossible to do unless you copy paste it. So I'm not gonna beat myself up too bad about that. But there's some differences. This one is a little bit wider and this one is a little bit more narrow. This nose is definitely bigger than this one. The lips look pretty good, I think. And then the eyes are pretty good too. These ones are a little more closed, but again, not a huge deal. If you're drawing faces, especially if they're faces that are facing different directions, it's gonna be really, really hard to get them to look identical. I was very proud of this. I think this turned out really, really well. And I think it's because I had that practice with this picture of drawing the arm in that same sort of position that these ones turned out so well. The hands back here I wish were the same size. Again, this one is way smaller. And you could make the argument that it's further back, but I just wish they were the same size because they are supposed to be twins. They're supposed to be kind of in the same position. The chains I was very lazy on. I did them last minute because I forgot them and I just sort of freehanded them in so they look a little rough. Other than that though, there's not much critique I would give to this. Maybe this jacket should probably be going this way, because yeah, it's not supposed to be going up like that. It should be going straight around. I'm gonna say that's about it on these ones. I love this one. This is one of my favorite pieces of Huevember, so very excited for that one. All right, Imogen here. This was the only one that I did that actually followed the traditional Huevember guidelines, where I took a hue here, right about here, and all I did was move around the circle. I tried not to change this too much. I just moved around the circle, the square. I just moved around the square here to get all these different colors on here. So let's see. First thing I see is this mouth is slightly on the wrong angle. It should probably be a little more like this. That's a little extreme. Yeah, maybe something a little closer to that so that it's on the same angle as the nose here. This tail, I think I should have just brought the whole character over and then given the tail, given the tail a lot more room to give a nice arc there, because it kind of looks squashed right there, which is unfortunate. This leg, I think I was trying to make it so the leg kind of went in this way, and then this bit was the fabric coming down, but I don't think that came across in the final render. When I did this outline here, I think I kind of forgot that. So either this should be going down, or the leg should be going a little more straight in towards the body. This finger's a little wonky. I would have made it just slightly smaller to fit the rest of the fingers. Yeah, not much on this one though. As you can tell, as I'm doing these Huevember challenges, I am getting incrementally better bit by bit because I'm finding less and less issues with them. And I'm sure if I look back on them in a year, I'm gonna find a million issues, because that's just what happens when you practice, is you get better and better. And you can see in your improvement, even just over the course of a month. It's great. All right, so we're gonna go to the last one here. This one I do, despite it being the last one, I do have a couple issues with it. First and foremost, this dresser is kind of tilting this way, which is not horrible, especially since it's at the edge of the page. It kind of gives it like a fisheye look, but that is not what I was going for. That is, it's just a little bit tilted here. I think my overall takeaway of what I really need to improve on is making sure the hands are the same size, because again, these fingers, even though it's not the whole hand, these fingers look a lot bigger than these ones, just in my opinion at least. I love the face. I love the nose, the eyes, the mouth. I think that all looks very good. The soft little curve there for the cheek. The ear. No, the ear's about in the right place. It might be, this might need to go in ever so slightly, but that's nitpicky. I'm always kind of lazy drawing backgrounds, especially with furniture. One, because I never draw backgrounds. I'm really not used to it, but more so because I want the furniture to kind of look like, when it's in the background like this and out of focus, I don't mind the wobbly lines because it does sort of make it look a little messier back there, a little more textured, but also kind of like not what you're supposed to be focusing on. Whereas the more crisp and precise lines are reserved for the character. I always do this shape right at like the curve of the shoulder where it transitions into the bicep there. And it's because naturally that's where fabric is going to be tight, because your arm is pulling up and that's where the seam of the fabric is. So it is going to pull from that direction. However, this shape is not super realistic. It definitely portrays the tightness there, but like, especially with this fabric, you can see this is kind of a thin fabric. This would not bulge out that much. Let's see. Other than that, I think this is a pretty good piece. I think I could have arched the back a little less there. Just slightly, ever so slightly. It's not too bad. Whoops, every time. Keep forgetting I'm on the base layer. But I think that's pretty good. And I think it's definitely a huge improvement from Amelia, who was number one. Oh God, even looking back at this, like these eyes are too far apart. I just noticed that. Anyway, those were my 30 days of Huevember. Some good, some bad, a lot learned. Yeah. So I just want to take a moment to thank everyone who joined me on my Huevember challenge. It was by far one of the most rewarding projects I've done yet. I always love doing these projects where I can actually see how I've improved from day 1 to day 30. It's like night and day sometimes, and it's so cool to see. It's very cool to be able to actually see that progress that you're making and see that the efforts that you put in are not wasted. And the practice that you put into something, practice makes improvement. It really does. Everyone is always asking me, it's the number one question I get. What do you recommend? How do I get this good? What tips and tricks do you have for me? And it's so exhausting to hear, but it's true. There's a reason you hear it so much. Practice makes improvement. It's just practice every day. No one is naturally gifted with art. Everyone who is where they are at right now got there because they practiced and because they put in the work. So if that's your biggest takeaway from that, let it be so. That's a great lesson to learn from all this is always keep practicing. Always, look at the improvement in me. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing this. It doesn't matter how good you think you are or other people think you are. You always have more to learn. And that is so cool. I absolutely love that with art. The fact that I can always learn more things keeps it fresh and keeps it interesting for me. So that little rant is over. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who has joined me for this challenge, and a big thank you for all you guys here on YouTube. I just started this YouTube channel with this challenge specifically, and I would love to do more of these types of review videos. I'd love to do more speed draws for you, all that kind of stuff. Stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe because I've got a lot more coming for you guys. I really, really love doing this. And if you want to follow me on my art journey, you can find me on Patreon, TikTok, and Instagram. It's Threadwing under all those places, as well as here on YouTube. Again, subscribe, come back, see what I got for you next time, and I will see you guys all later. Bye!